Nice.
Let me figure it out.
Sure.
Okay.
Good morning. Happy Saturday. I wanted to talk about a few different things, and the topic of lifestyle arbitrage and opportunity cost was a big, big topic. Libby and I just got back from a really nice trip that was really a lot about learning with a software, you know, group that we have as our mentors to learn, train, all that good stuff. But the whole topic of opportunity cost and like what the hell are we doing with our day versus being able to like just jump at opportunities. It was really bugging me because there was this recurring theme, and I think right now as Libby's getting set up, she can kind of dive more into. But you see how people move around in their work life and their daily life, and you can either do one of two things: is one is you can stay the same, or two is you can disrupt. And this has driven me nuts because it's the idea of you know exactly what to do, whatever it is that you want to do, you know exactly what to do, but you still choose to stay the same, um, as opposed to actually like taking it and running with it. So the topic of disrupting is really bugging me, and I know that the last time we had jumped in, I talked about Elon Musk, and that honestly pissed me off too, with just how fast he was moving. Um, and so it's a recurring theme lately in like how slow are you going compared to how fast you could go.
So yes, I'm sorry. I have to get a few things set up before we go live so I can share them in one of my particular Facebook groups, which is the Higher Profits Tribe, which is, living a more profitable life. Um, and not profitable with money necessarily, but like relationships, health. And before we get started, though, I wanted to say that today is 454. So today is our 454th morning date. And just to throw that out there. And that we set up our mics and we got chairs. And so I feel like those bros that you see on a podcast. And I'm like, dude, I'm cool because I'm sitting in a chair and I got a mic and I look important. So I was like, I'm not discrediting any of the bros that do this on a podcast. I just said I want to be chill and relaxed like that. So
Hey, I kind of think it's cool to lean into.
So I'm like super excited that I can sit in a chair and relax versus, although our boom mics are not necessarily I have to readjust them.
It's a beta.
It's a beta test. It's not what I want at the moment. It's kind of like in your face. Um, but yeah, Chris and I spent the last 7 days in Chicago.
Yeah.
Absolutely freaking amazing. I spent the last 7 days in Chicago. I spent the first three with Boardroom, which is Dan Martell's SaaS group, a higher level SaaS group for founders. And then Chris joined me with Yaya
Hmm.
for the SaaS Academy, which is also a Dan Martell group, SaaS Academy Intensive, and we brought our daughter. So it was how do you incorporate your kids living this lifestyle of learning and traveling, and I would say it worked out really, really well. We didn't let that fact that we had a six-year-old and a 16-year-old stop us from what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
But what was the title of today again?
Oh shoot, it was lifestyle arbitrage
Uh-huh.
and opportunity cost. Oh my.
What is that noise? Oh,
It's
her. Okay. Um, I'm hearing this weird noise in the background. Um,
so it was lifestyle. So there's lifestyle arbitrage. I know we talked about before. You probably heard me throw around the term of geo arbitrage, which is all about in terms of like displacing yourself, whether at the expense of or to the benefit of a job opportunity that you might have. That's typically, geo arbitrage. It talks about that um, in terms of living, and let's say that you live in the inner city versus the outer city. Is what would it cost for you to live in the inner city to go to work, within a 15-minute walk versus living outside the city, maybe an hour out or 45 minutes out, significantly cheaper. but having to drive in every day as well as that time value of doing so. So that's kind of the perspective or the idea of geo arbitrage. And what I want to do is kind of dive into the idea of lifestyle arbitrage, which is same thing but a little bit different, which I think also kind of plays into opportunity costs. It's about leveraging the assets that you have and the opportunities that you have to benefit you or benefit people around you in different ways to offset cost or offset opportunities.
Do you want to know how this started? I was in a conversation and with some people in boardroom and in SAS Academy about, hey, like Dan was just with us, and then he tucked his kids in for bed.
Last thing you saw was that he tucked his kids
He
in.
tucked in his kids, and he lived far away, Kelowna, all right, a whole other side of
Different
North
country.
America. Well, it's in
Yeah.
Canada, but it's in the western part, northwestern part of Canada. And he was just with us in Chicago, and he tucked his kids in bed. And we were talking about time value. Like, if you owned your own jet or plane, how much time could you save? Because you could do day trips, you could fly in and out same day. And not everyone in this conversation owned their own jet or plane. Like, let's get realistic. But it was like, I live in a place where I cannot get a nonstop flight anywhere, like nowhere. I can't get a nonstop flight. And so for me to travel anywhere, it takes a whole day of travel. I
Yeah.
live in Southwest Florida, Fort Myers. We're not a huge city. And, I was talking to someone that lived in Chicago, and we were in Chicago, and he's like, oh, I do day trips all the time. I fly in and out same day. I can be with my daughter. And I was thinking to myself, like, oh my God, like, is the fact that where I'm living really limiting my, not necessarily like networking, I'm talking about like opportunities or the ability to move fast or do certain things where it would take either a lot of money because my flights out of Fort Myers are not cheap,
Hmm.
or a lot of time.
Because there aren't any direct connections or
No.
direct flights.
And I was in Coach Burt. He's a ex women's basketball college coach. He taught this like lifestyle arbitrage with a plane. Like, if you want to own a plane, here's how you can afford a plane. And you know, I learned it about a year or two ago, and I'm now seeing Dan do it and some other people do it based off where they live. And
Hmm.
um, I'm not gonna lie, it kind of makes me discouraged. I'm like, should I move?
Right. Because, and I take this back to, because I relate more to the lifestyle and entertainment industry, having done that for the last 12 years pre-COVID. But same thing is, the amount of artists and musicians coming out of places like Nashville and other hotspots. It's like they're bred to be these great artists or these success stories. But in Wisconsin, I don't think there's going to be as many artists coming through or emerging out of Wisconsin. I just got to say that right now. So the same thing goes is that's in terms of opportunity cost, and that lifestyle arbitrage is living in a place that's a hot spot for opportunity. Honestly, we'll probably, again, the idea of catching the winds of luck. You can catch the winds of luck drastically more than if you lived in a low population or a little bit more remote area. Just because of the cost of living might be cheaper, but again,
You're
it's
missing opportunities.
opportunity cost.
Like, when I was in Chicago, I had dinner with the owner of Trainwool,
Yeah.
Chris Ranzio, like the owner of Trainwool. If you guys know that software, I sat next to him, and so like we became kind of friends on social media, and I hung out with him all week. He was there, super nice guy. But here's Libby. I'm sitting next to him, and I know that they sent me next to him on purpose, the boardroom team. Um, and at the end of the night, I told Chris I was kind of a BTICH to him.
It's like,
On purpose though, because I was trying to challenge like train rollers, because playbooks are not my thing. I don't own them. It's like, ooh, like, let me challenge you, let me ask you questions on it. And so I wasn't like a girl fan, but I was a girl fan. I was like, ooh, here's a girl fan that really has 100 questions to ask you
no.
to figure out like how can we make this better and how can we do it better? And it was hilarious when I got done. I was like, oh, I was probably kind of rude to him because I challenged everything he said, but out of a place of like love and
Curiosity.
curiosity, not out of a place that I didn't believe him. So, anyways, yeah, we spent a few days together, but like I wouldn't get that opportunity here. Um, and I had dinner with Gosha, right?
Mm-hmm.
Helping Hands. She's a $4 million residential cleaning company, guys. $4 million residential cleaning company that uses Woot Recruit for her staffing. And then she has a giant, a very large commercial cleaning industry. And then I had dinner with her and Ricky Regalado from Route and Rosaldo's Cleaning,
Mm-hmm.
in Chicago. And I'm like, man, like I'm not going to get these opportunities in Fort Myers. And it's just questioning it's just a great question to ask yourself. It's like, are you living here because you're comfortable and it's cheap, but it's in the best interest of your future?
And I wanna say one thing, and it's kind of I'm thinking about it right now because I'm like, shoot, I just thought about it. It's scarcity mindset. We talked about it the other week. But you know, is this playing in the realm of scarcity mindset as well? Is, oh, it's cheaper over here and it's more efficient for my lifestyle. But are we really playing into a scarcity mindset instead of maybe a little element of risk with stepping into somewhere new or somewhere a little bit more lucrative? You know, are we kind of circling back to a scarcity mindset in terms of opportunity cost and this lifestyle arbitrage?
Yeah, because I'm not gonna lie, we live in Southwest Florida. We bought here when it was extreme.
Yeah.
I just seen uh uh I think it's Karen Smith.
Hmm.
She's here in Southwest Florida. She lives in Gateway. Like we just had lunch at Skinny Dogs, breakfast at Skinny Dogs, not lunch. We bought here when it was so cheap. It was so cheap. It wasn't even funny. Like you couldn't give these houses away.
Yeah.
Like we couldn't give them away. And so we have a nice house, super cheap mortgage, lots of property. We have a basketball court in the backyard. And I'm like, but what opportunities could I have for my, because we have to think about, and I know Teresa McConnell's on here. She's reading Rich and Grow Think. Oh my
Think
God.
and grow rich.
I'm dyslexic, by the way. Think and Grow Rich. And it's your networks. It's is your net worth kind of thing, and opportunities and being in rooms. We have a property in Oklahoma, which is about an hour and a half from Dallas. And I
Hmm.
keep telling Chris, maybe we should move there. Like, maybe we should move there. And, you know, we bought here because it was cheap and it was convenient, but is it still convenient and in line with our goals?
Because at the time it was.
Well, it was cheap when we bought. It's not cheap
No, no, no,
anymore.
no. What I mean is, at the time, it was convenient and it was a high opportunity. I would say a very low opportunity cost in terms of potential because one is we need to be near an airport. I traveled for about 80% of the year.
Tell him what you used to do for a living.
So I spent a lot of time as an audio engineer.
Who did you work for?
Um,
I was his groupie, by the way.
yeah. So from people from, let's say, like MGMT, Dan Auerbach, which is from Black Keys. I always say like Nicki Minaj, One Direction, Morrissey, Kings of Leon, Phoenix. If you guys are familiar with that side of things.
And people wonder why I married Chris. I married Chris for the connections,
Yeah.
the concert
Oh, and
tickets.
I want to at least give a shout out to Mary J. Blige.
And Mary J. Blige, I'm like, oh my God. And
I think
now he
3 or
quit and I don't get my tickets
I think
anymore.
3 years of that was honestly one of the most incredible tours. The people there and her are just amazing, amazing. She's a super sharp businesswoman, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the thing back then. Is in terms of opportunity cost, I think very high opportunity compared to the cost and the situations that we were in. There was no, let's just say that there was no economy where we live, but that didn't matter because the opportunities were elsewhere, which was at a quick jump to the airport. And so for us at that time, it was my opportunity was extremely high value through this low economy, low cost area. But now since kind of the opportunities have shifted,
Yeah.
is now positioning ourselves in terms of faster way to connect. We don't have the same setup, meaning that it's a much lower opportunity, higher cost scenario or situation. And I mean higher cost with time, higher time cost, because the cost itself right now is irrelevant in terms of like flights or getting out to somewhere, but it's the time value or the time cost to do stuff, to execute on stuff. It's like, oh, by the way, hey, by the way, I'm in town. You want to go ahead and pop over?
No one ever says that to us, by the way.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm in Fort Myers. You want to meet for dinner?
No.
Meanwhile, I'm in Chicago and I have so many people I can't even meet with. Like
The-
so many people I couldn't even.
The-
Like if you were in Chicago and you were like a friend and you messaged me, there were so many people, and because I was there for a conference, I didn't have enough time to meet with all them.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, in the 12 years we've lived here, I think I've had 2 times people were like, "I'm in the area. Do you want to meet?"
And by the way, in the area means, oh, by the way, I'm in the area. Oh, you're where? Sarasota, Tampa?
Or you're on vacation.
Or you're on vacation, or it's 2.5 hours away. It's like, you want to meet for lunch in about an hour? Actually, I live in Fort Myers. That's about 2.5 hours. Oh, okay, never mind. Maybe next time. There is never a next time.
Teresa McConnell said that she never told us this, but she was a stagehand for many years.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So, Chris comes from the tour life, and I also traveled a lot as a kid, but we are very familiar with that.
Yeah.
Teresa. Chris, in my past life was my,
Sound guy.
he was my sound guy. He used to mic me up. So a lot of you guys were like, "Oh my gosh, you can speak in front of people on a stage." I used to speak in front of like, how many people do you think were in the arena?
30,000.
30,000 people, and Chris would mic me up for that. So
Yeah.
if you want to know what I used to do, you could private message me.
We got some fun stories of me just completely falling face flat in the middle of 30,000 people.
In front of 30,000 people.
Rushing to get
because my mic didn't work.
to get a spare mic.
He had to run me a handheld mic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times.
So we have a lot of things. Like we have a lot. Me and Chris, and then me especially before Chris, that we don't necessarily talk too much about, and not that we're ashamed of it. It's just that it's not our focus right now.
Yeah.
But all those pictures still on my Facebook page.
Yeah.
You just have to go a long way back to see all of them.
Yeah.
So, I think this is a great topic because it depends on like what are your goals. Like for my residential cleaning owners, I know many, many, many of you are working on big things. Are you positioning yourself when it comes to a geographic location for you to meet those goals? And I would have to say, one of my friends, like Wendy Nellett, she's a cleaning company owner. She's a commercial cleaning, residential, commercial, and vacation cleaning owner. And she is like so smart, but she's in a very small town.
Yep.
And so I'd love for her to think like this is a great person that comes to mind. Is she positioning herself geographically to meet her goals, that why that's inside of you? I can tell you Fort Myers isn't going to help me meet my goals of the long-term why. It's convenient. I have a 16-year-old who's a junior in high school. I just need him to graduate.
Yeah.
And Yaya's homeschooled. She came with us to Chicago, and she wouldn't go to the conference and meet people and meet some SaaS owners and tour Chicago and do all kinds of fun stuff. But I know that it's not going to meet my long-term goals, but it's what I have to do right now.
Yeah, and that also had hit me too, because we were talking about Austin, who's again a junior, and then the topic of opportunity cost. It was really honestly getting to me because you think to yourself, and we've heard the statements before, like there's nothing around here, for a kid, really, there's no inner city life type of thing. It's, houses are so far and few between, but what is the opportunity cost of living here versus living in a highly populated, like a college town where you can walk to the downtown area?
Well, my son lived here. I have a 26-year-old. I want to first, Heather had asked, Teresa, what's the book you're reading? She's currently doing laundry while listening to us. Thank you, Heather, for listening to us while doing laundry. It's Saturday. Hey. And Teresa answered the question is Think and Grow Rich. I think I've read this book 6 times this year, and I keep listening to it and rereading it. Teresa, she's been reading it because she keeps tagging me in posts on social media, and I see you, Teresa. And I love that.
Love the hustle.
Love it. But my 26-year-old used to live here in Southwest Florida and was paying probably about like expenses and rent all in almost about $1,800 to $2,000 a month for rent. Do you know he moved to Oklahoma, like an hour south of Tulsa, Teresa
Hmm.
McCullough, and he's paying $350 for rent.
Yeah. You talk about geo arbitrage. That's at its finest.
Yes, he's about an hour south from Tulsa. $350 for rent, and I kept trying to get him to move, relocate. This
Yeah.
this area is not going to provide you with specific things unless you're in hospitality or vacation
Yeah.
industry. It's as a young person or even a highly motivated entrepreneur that's not necessarily focused on home service. Home service is amazing here.
And quick note, so for people that don't know it already, is that all of his work is remote because he helps with marketing and for a few companies. So again, he is remote. And so this concept of moving from one place to another honestly didn't phase him at all because he was still doing the same exact work. Um,
Jeremy Brooks wants to know, what are we talking about? We're
ooh,
talking about, what is it, Chris?
lifestyle. So we went from geo arbitrage to lifestyle arbitrage to opportunity cost. And lifestyle arbitrage, just to recap, is more so taking the concepts of displacing yourself to the benefit or disadvantage of where you live versus where you work.
No, that's geo arbitrage.
That's geo arbitrage. Yep. And so the lifestyle arbitrage is the same thing as in terms of assets that you have, um, and opportunities that are available to you is how can you leverage opportunities to the expense of others in some ways, like having a private jet and having people fly out and pay your way so that you don't have to actually hold the full expense of the jet. But
I've been spending way too much time around Dan.
yeah,
Dan in the last week. Jeremy, we just came back from Chicago and we spent some time with Dan Martell, and we were talking about jets and day trips, and he bought a private jet and he's renting out the seats in the jet to coaching customers, coaching clients to help pay for the expense of the jet.
but still having that connected
Yeah,
experience.
which is lifestyle arbitrage. But the benefit for him is he can do day trips and like be somewhere and then tuck his kids in at night.
Yeah.
And what it made me think was, we live in Southwest Florida, Fort Myers, and for us, it's very hard to even just fly out with a nonstop flight, let alone a day trip.
Yeah.
Like a day trip doesn't exist to me. For me to fly to Chicago nonstop for the times that I needed, right? I had to drive 2 hours to Miami or Fort Lauderdale just to get a great nonstop flight. And so we were talking about that, and that's the cost expense.
Yep. The
Like,
time value or the time cost.
Value of like, where are you living? What assets do you have? And is it going to align with your future goals? Right? Because I think that's super important. My camera is set off by hand motions, and I don't know what those hand motions are because I did not read the instructions. So that's why it keeps changing.
That's an entrepreneur for you.
So I'm now feeling those. We bought here and we lived here because it was cheap. It was dirt cheap, like crazy cheap.
And we had different opportunities and advantages to us, but now it's reset because we're completely shifted in what types of opportunities we are seeking out or trying to get in front of. Again, there's a concept called catching the winds of luck, and it's not that you create your own luck or that luck is not a thing. It's more so of catching opportunities where they happen. And not that you can control when they happen, but you can control how often you're in front of where there's winds of opportunity. So that's what we're missing out right now is all these winds of luck, these opportunities, because we're displacing ourselves. Maybe it's a cheaper area, but lower opportunity
I'm laughing
places.
because I love Jeremy's question.
What's that?
He says, do you feel that time is more important to you guys in your journey than money and cost? Yes. So I'm in it's a group called Boardroom, and maybe some of the Boardroom members are watching. And it's originally Dan Martell's high level SaaS owners group. And to get in the group, you had to be a $3 million company. You had to have I think it was 240,000 MRR with your SaaS company. And so I'm in that group, and the funny part about this group, Jeremy, is that we learned nothing about really business. Nothing. It's all about. We had a health mentor come in and teach us about health and fitness and how we need to create a dashboard for our health. We had someone to come in and teach us. Well, the owner of Trainwell was there, taught us about how that we train our leaders to be leaders. So that, yes, that was like super great. The way he broke it down, he taught us nothing on Trainwell. It was all like how he builds businesses to scale leaders, not businesses to scale.
Yeah.
Then we had someone come in and teach us a few other things. But the other part of the time, Jeremy, was I learned how to fire, eat, and fire, breathe, because it was teaching us how to confront fear and manage our emotions and our fear. They've had us jump off sides, like rappel off the sides of 475-foot buildings to face your fears. And then we always have this is going to sound woo-woo. We call this the woo-woo session. We always have the woo-woo sessions. We're like, oh, it's going to get woo-woo in here. But this is one of like Dan's biggest things is and we're joking when we say woo-woo sessions, we love them, but we know it's going to get emotional. And you're going to see like 3 million, 10 million, 20 million, $100 million business owners
Per month.
per
Well,
month. Well, they're not per, some of them are per month, but per ARR.
Yeah.
Working on breathing exercises, doing Reiki breathing, working on fear and what is courage. And they're not the things that you think about. We would pay the amount of money that we pay to be in this room. And there's only 50 people in this room. I'm
Yeah.
fortunate enough to be in the room. And it has nothing to do with like operations, day-to-day sales, like nothing. But they also teach you like time value is one of the biggest ones. And I will pay, and I've learned this about myself, I will pay a very, very substantial amount of money to find time or buy back my time,
Mhm.
right? As Dan says, buy back my time, where other people are looking to pay money for like other things that don't buy back their time,
Yeah.
right? And so Jeremy, I love this question because I think it's one of the biggest differentiators between like breaking through a ceiling. And they were saying it's between that 1 and 3 million mark. Like if the 1 million mark was just like, hey, this is I earned my right to be here.
Yeah.
Between 1 and 3 is, hey, I'm trying to figure this out. I don't have my messaging right. But I think between 1 and 3 is you have to figure also out how to buy back that time, because you cannot do everything yourself. So I put a high value on time. I actually don't care what the cost is.
Yeah.
Because I care what the return is.
Yes. Which is honestly is where my heart is at right now. I am kind of in like this disturbing mode right now where I feel very anxious about the time that I'm spending on things, because, and I talked about it this morning as well when we had we had like a pre Sunday morning brunch on Saturday, but talked about if you were to put yourself on a spectrum, and that spectrum was in terms of going slow. I'm afraid to do hand motions here. Going slow versus going fast, meaning that like how slow are you going compared to how fast you could go. And if you put yourself on a spectrum, and where would you place yourself?
I want everybody listening, and there's a lot of people listening, answer this. Let's explain, Chris.
If you put yourself on a spectrum of the
1 to 10.
1 to 10, the slowest you could go, and I need you to be real with yourself and not BS it. Oh, great. Not BS it, but if you would put yourself on a scale 1 to 10, is how slow you could go versus how fast. And I mean, when I mean fast, I mean fast. Like you're like, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to pay our bills tomorrow because we're going so hardcore extreme at this thing, type of fast, or high risk. Meanwhile, Libby's over here playing with toys. I'm trying to have a serious conversation.
What can I say? The camera just loves me. Sorry, keep going.
Is where would you put yourself on that scale? And if you put anywhere above, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to call you guys out right now. If anybody drops in 6, 7, or 8, I'm going to, yeah, is in reality, what you're saying is that you're not thinking big enough. And honestly, it's probably a 2, 3, or 4.
I don't see no one putting numbers in.
Right.
I don't see nobody putting numbers in. And I said I'm probably on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm probably like a 3.
Yeah.
I'm going so slow right now because I have some things I'm trying to get through. Right.
Because what I want to take away from this is seeing, I always love coming back from those, especially with SaaS Academy and the conferences, is you see the spectrum of what people are doing and how fast they're doing it when they created their company a year ago versus being a $5 million company. And you're like, oh my gosh.
The guy was on stage talking, oh, I started my company 2 years ago and I'm like $10 million.
And he's teaching the entire group on social media.
I'm like,
virality of social media.
I hate you.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good topic. And so Jeremy mentioned, he's like, he loves what we shared. And he goes, I would rather have less profit than more time. And so here's the greatest thing at the end of the day for everybody listening. I see Teresa and Jeremy and Arlene and Gabe and Tammy Sales and Heather, is that it's your company and you can do whatever the hell you want to do, right? You can have 20% profit and do a lot of the work yourself. Or you can have little profit, pay yourself a good whatever salary, W-2 pay, but not have to do anything. I will say Organize It has always been overstaffed until just recently because I did not want to do anything because I was focused on other things. And so the benefit of being a business owner is you can do whatever you want.
Whenever you choose to
do whatever you want. You can buy back your time. And that is totally relevant to the time in your life and where you're at.
Yeah.
We have kids, and so we have to buy back some more of that time. When I tell Chris when they're gone, or maybe Austin's back he's in college, maybe I don't have to buy back so much. But right now I have to buy back a lot.
Yeah. And I want to make this one note here because people always go to the deep end of it's either this or it's that. It's pick or choose. No, it's at a specific time a specific point in your life is this for this time period is exactly what I'm going to do, which is scale back, just live a simpler life. And then maybe 2 years from now, it shifts back again and say, all right, I'm ready. There's not like a despair of, oh my gosh, I wasted so much time because of the last 2 years, whatever. No, it's it's the phases, it's the modes, it's what that time value is worth with what you're doing.
So because people were distracted because I was playing with the camera, they want to know what was the question you asked on a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Sorry.
So back to the scale, the spectrum is, the question is, how slow are you going compared to how fast you could go? And if you were to put yourself on that spectrum, and let's just say the spectrum had 0 to 10. And again, be very careful about how you answer this question. But if you were put yourself on a spectrum of how slow you are currently going versus how fast you could go, where would you place yourself on the spectrum? And really, really think about it. And honestly, give yourself some situations and say, what does extremely fast look like in my life right now in this instance?
And also, what's holding you back?
Yeah.
Like, so I'll be honest, I'm going to share, in my marketing team might get their feelings hurt when I say this. So we had exponential growth in one of the companies, and then it's kind of stalled. And we set up one night and we were looking at the numbers, and we made like a lifeline to the company. If you guys have ever done a lifeline, oh God, I'm using my hands. A lifeline for one of the companies. And we were like, what happened during these times? And so in one of the companies, I was in charge of marketing, and we hired a fractional CMO to come in and create a plan. And then we hire a head of marketing because I'm doing what I think I'm supposed to be doing, like a grown-up business owner, and hiring people to take this over. We hired a head of marketing, and she was great and all, but she was so structured, but it was also created stagnation because it was slow. But what I found the marketing team saying, because I was the one that was leading it, was that they loved the fact that it was so structured. And they didn't want to offend me, but it did offend me. Versus like waking up with 100 ideas and disrupting and saying like, hey, we're going to do a webinar today. Like, hey, we're going to do this. Hey, I have a new idea for a product. Because all of our team said they loved how much more structured it was now. but they didn't realize it stalled growth and we went backwards.
Yeah.
It's kind of it put this like subconscious feeling in me that like, oh my God, they don't want me to go fast because I'm going to scare them. So now if I go fast, I have to go fast by myself.
Yeah. Or you have to be considerate of other people in how that's being done.
Yeah, and that's like what I'm personally, it's like a personal struggle with me right now. Is that if I go fast, I heard how much they didn't like it. But if they want to keep their jobs at the same time, we have to go fast because being too structured, Teresa and Jeremy and Nicole, I saw you comment. If you're too structured, you're going to go too slow.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
an organizer. I love structure, but it's going to stall your growth.
and so I was on a call with Cameron Harold. By the way, Second in Command is a phenomenal book.
Love that guy. He's so neurotic, but
Yeah,
I love
he's quirky like me. But Cameron, he had said, and he gave the analogy about again, kind of when you're talking about visionaries and integrators, or somebody like a second in command that's there to kind of steer things in the right direction, or kind of put some organized chaos to the chaos. Is he said that I guess the true purpose is to put the reins on the dragon, not necessarily put a chain on the person. And so this person, this second in command, or
Mhm.
somebody in your life,
Somebody.
I always say that, is supposed to be there
I just
to,
make fun of the way Chris says
yeah,
somebody.
and think of it and envision it as the reins on the dragon, to where you want to be able to steer and fly fast as F, not to hold somebody back, or to say, wait a second, that's a difficult idea, that's a troubling idea, or maybe that's too risky. No, it's the opposite. It's being able to kind of compartmentalize a crazy idea, but still execute it very fast. And so that's really the goal here that I want to take away. And what kind of brought me to this lifestyle arbitrage opportunity cost is that, and we've sworn to it, and I think this is going to be our statement for 2025, is we are going to disrupt. There's nothing about it, is that everything that we are doing is going to be a thing that disrupts. That is going to be, is what I'm doing currently disrupting? And if it's
Well,
not,
it can also be called polarizing, and some people have taken it off the deep end
yeah,
with polarizing. But if you're not disrupting, you're not no one's hearing you, right? And your message and your word isn't getting out. And you're not making that movement. And so you have to be passionate about what you choose to disrupt on. Right? You can't just disrupt in general. Like I want to disrupt the recruiting space, right? I want to take over a big known person that starts with the letter I. Um, and I want to disrupt in the cleaning space, right? I want to break people's perception of what cleaning business owners look and act like.
yeah,
So I want to disrupt in certain spaces, and I want to disrupt in the space where people think they have to be super structured. I'm watching Teresa and Jeremy talk about the 80-20 rule, and they
hmm,
need playbooks, they have a VA. But at the same time, like that is what kept me from growing, guys.
yeah,
Is this I thought I had to be too structured.
yeah. And so I want to give you a concept, or give you an idea here, and it's the fact that people think of evolution as a beautiful thing, but the only way that evolution comes about is through mutations. And whenever you hear the word mutations, you think of something that's, typically it's
Think of
not
like alien,
expected,
like a
it's
mutant.
deformed, it's whatever it might be. It's something that is not expected, and it's typically you're resistant to. But a mutation has to happen in order to bring about evolution, which is a new change, a new order. And so you have to go through mutations, these ugly things in your life, in your business, in order to create that evolution, or the next you, the next steps.
Yeah. And here's the thing to everyone who's so focused on playbooks. I love them. We have a zillion. But at the same time, I want everyone to like reread or rethink of the 80-20 rule, like they're talking about it here in the chats. You can't put too much time on them, guys, because they change every year. Like every year we review our playbooks. So if you're spending all this time and money creating these playbooks, I'm going to tell you they're going to change. They're not static. They are not static because our software changes, our policies change, our processes change, our companies change, we change. And so we can't put too much emphasis on like, hey, we're not ready yet. And that's one of my self-sabotaging
Hmm.
statements is when I say I'm not ready. And I asked Chris to give me, he's allowed to call me out when I say those phrases or when I say that phrase. But we cannot say we're not ready because we don't have like our processes yet, our structure yet, because we, at the same time, we can't put, it's a balance of like knowing how much time and effort to put towards it. Because I've spent years making the playbooks for Organize It, all for half of them to be worthless, but then, or they need to be updated because it's an evolution, it's a mutation, it changes. The cleaners we hired, or the technicians, or the field techs, the window cleaners, the power washers we hired when we were $500,000 are not the cleaners or techs in the field that we still have at $1 million, because the company has changed. The company has more policies and more things, and so we cannot put too much emphasis on needing it perfect yet,
Yeah.
because there's no such thing as perfect, right? It's like Michael Jordan with basketball. By the way, when I was in Chicago, I went to a Bulls game. I loved the Bulls as a child or a teenager, but the Bulls were not great this year. Um, but it's like Michael Jordan. He worked day and night to master it, but he knew he would never master it. That was the chase. That's the chase. But he didn't not play a game because he didn't master it yet. He didn't not give it his all because he was waiting to master it, to make 100% of his shots. No, he was good with a certain percentage,
Yeah.
right? And so what's
And
that
yeah.
percentage? Go ahead.
And I was going to say that I feel like he did a phenomenal job at constantly disrupting his mindset by pulling in people who were well above what he knew he had the capacity for. So he pulled in his team. He rallied people together.
Well, that goes back to Jeremy saying, or do you like to pay for time versus like what do you value, right? And I value time 100%. And Jeremy said someone once told him, perfection cannot scale a business, but good enough can 100%. And I don't know if men, Jeremy, suffer from this, but I know women suffer from this because I'm in business with a lot of women. I'm in groups, and we try to overcomplicate, re-engineer. We'll pay for someone to give us the solution, but we want to go make it better. And I'm guilty of it too. And I finally learned how to just stop. Like, take what I paid for, take what they gave me. They've used it. It's good enough. And women in business, at least from what I've experienced, we struggle with this because we want to over engineer it, and then we were like, well, hey, that's a great idea, let me go remake it to make it my own. Who cares?
Why do you need to?
Let's use Dan's phrase. If you guys follow Dan Martell, this is a software phrase, and it's called R&D, which is typically what
Re,
software and R&D.
typically, it's research and development.
Typically, you want to research and develop something. Well, we call R&D rob and duplicate. So that doesn't mean to copy and paste it. Like, let's get this clear. It means to use something for inspiration to make it my own, and it's like good enough.
The concept's already been proven.
The concept's proven. Just put your title on it. Like, change the name, change your industry. He calls it rob and duplicate.
Yeah.
Why re-engineer something if we already know it works?
Because it's the topic, and I think actually this was in the new book that they have, the very first start of it. But we all think of ourselves as snowflakes.
Oh, we're freaking snowflakes.
We are one in a billion. Nobody else like us. Our company is entirely unique, and nobody can replicate exactly what we do. So I have to create it myself.
That's a load of crap.
Yeah. So this R&D concept comes from that. It's that there are patterns that are beneath, certain molecules. There's only like 3 different molecules, or the chemical makeup of a snowflake. Yes, there are endless possibilities of what a snowflake might look like, but underneath the hood, it's all exactly the same. It's modular.
A snowflake is frozen water. It's all.
So stop looking at yourself as some special, unique company and trying to recreate things all by yourself, because somebody's already gone through, proven the concepts, and delivered it with the same underlying makeup of what you are.
I'm not special. I've learned that I'm not special. I think most of you guys that have seen my journey and like grow over time, and hey, Marvin is here. Marvin, I love you. I haven't seen you in a while. I haven't talked to you. Hope you're doing well. We're having a good time. We talk about crap and we talk about stuff here. So I'm
We
glad
talk
you're
crap
here.
about each other, so
We
it's
talk
good.
about crap about each other. But a snowflake, what I've realized over the years is I am not special. My cleaning company is not special. My recruiting solution is not special. I mean, I hate to say this out loud, but you could use any recruiting solution, and if you used it well and right, it would work. Like, it's not rocket science. And like my other companies or even coaches, we're not necessarily special. We're a dime a dozen. But what makes us different for me is where I've learned to really differentiate is to just share through my mistakes and to share through my lessons and then reteach the things that I've learned. I think it's very, very selfish, and this is where we differentiate now, is that if you keep it to yourself,
Yeah.
ooh, I learned this really great technique. I'm not going to share it with no one because it's what makes me different. No, it, we already know what it is. Someone's taught it somewhere else. It's not special.
Yeah. So that hits a personal note for me, because I've said it before, and it's honestly it's my life's mantra now, and it's again it's the idea that this is more like a personal going way off the deep end, but it's the fact that if you think about life and people and honestly what is the end goal, and for me it's that sense of community. It's being able to help and contribute in a way that isn't necessarily reliant on me or my outcome, but if every single person that walks into your life, you have the capacity to touch them to a certain degree, and impact their life, whether it's a fraction of saying hello in a different way, maybe you smiled in a different way, that is still going to, again, the butterfly effect, impact their life to some degree. And it's a very, very scary thought if you think about it, in that every single person that you come in contact with, or even secondary, somebody who comes in contact with somebody else, is that you directly influence a piece of their life, whether you want to agree with it or not. You directly influence that person and the person that they meet and the person that they connect with as well in different degrees. Is I want to live my life making sure that every person I come in contact with and I touch is better off than how they were before.
Yeah, and so Chris, what happened? So there's this weird phenomenon that happens when Chris leaves me alone. Chris, what's that phenomenon when you walk away?
You get stuff done? No.
No, when you leave me alone and we're somewhere or I'm by myself.
Oh. Oh, strange things happen. All of a sudden, it's like How I Met Your Mother. It's like Patikin. They
Patikin.
start to swarm around Libby. As soon as Chris walks away, people start to hover, and like all of a sudden, she's in these random conversations with people that would have never came up to her to begin with.
No, and so my point of all of this, where we were going with, we're not snowflakes, we're not special. Anyone can clean a house and mow a lawn and clean windows and power wash, and it's what I think too is like the sharing through my experiences, the sharing through my journey, the sharing through my mistakes, sharing through what I've learned, like sharing what I've learned to other people and bringing like, hey, I paid this much money to be in boardroom. I want to go share this with you guys. It's delivered in a different way because it's through my message. But it's the other part that I think makes us different. And with I'm gonna lean into this with Marvin. It's your community, it's your network. Chris cannot leave me anywhere, like absolutely nowhere. Like I can't even walk around our house without me meeting a new person.
Yeah, which is kind of strange, but yeah.
Like nowhere. We went to like a Dave and Buster's and I went to the bathroom and I sat at the bar to have a drink and I met a friend and he bought me a drink. Like we're at the airport and I made a new friend and Chris goes to the bathroom and somebody else is talking to me. And he's like, I can't take you anywhere.
I'm like, I feel bad being around you. I am the opportunity cost.
He is the opportunity cost. And it's not just men and they're not hitting on me. But where I've learned it from is the book Never Eat Alone. It is a boring read. But when Dan Martell tells you to read a book, you read the book. And I see him doing it now. I've seen him doing it. I didn't understand what he was doing. And now I see him doing it now. And the whole theory is, why do anything alone? And it's called like Never Eat Alone. But it's all about what makes us different is our connections. is the people we meet in the journey that we're on, right? And we're not using them like using them or abusing them. It's like what makes us different are those connections. Like my connection with like Marvin, and I was just with Ricky and Gosha and Dom. Like I sent a picture to Dom. I was drinking Dom Perignon in boardroom. Uh, and I took a picture of Dom saying like, I'm thinking of Dom while drinking Dom. Like, and but it's those connections that make us different, right? That make us, if you want to be that do make you a snowflake, because it makes you different. It makes you um, almost desirable, or someone that wants you, someone that people want to connect with. And that book, like when Dan told us to read that book, it really, I read it this year and I was like, huh, this is interesting. And I thought it was like networking, and it's not
Yeah.
networking at all. But it's like, how can I leverage my time? I have to eat. So shouldn't I just eat with someone that I could help them, or they could help me? Or should, like, if I'm on a walk, and I was going to do a Facebook live on this the other day, but I walk every day and I try to hit about 7 miles. I used to run, but since I've had Yaya, I don't run anymore. But I walk, and then I have a weight vest on when I walk. And an older gentleman came up to me while I was walking, and he walks. And Chris walks with me for the first 3.5, 4 miles, and then I do the rest by myself. He came up to me while I was walking and he said, keep walking. He goes, I watched you walk every day. And I thought to and he's probably 70 years old.
Hmm.
70 years old, guys. He goes, keep walking because you inspire me. He said, I would watch you walk by my house and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I need to get out and walk. I need to get out and walk. And I've lost 65 pounds in all of his walking and the years he saw me walk. Now I walk half dressed around the neighborhood. Um, and I thought to myself, like, oh my God, like I didn't even know I was doing that. Like, who's watching you while you're doing these things?
And it's honestly it's scary because
And have a conversation with them. So everywhere I go, whether I'm going to the bathroom in the airport and I talk to the attendant cleaning the bathroom, I purposely sit at the bar
yeah,
so that I can have a conversation with a stranger, because I can't have that conversation at a table. And Chris doesn't even drink and he'll sit at the bar.
yeah,
I purposely engage with people, purposely, because you don't know who they are and the connections you could make. And that's, to me, what makes us a snowflake.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Oh, and AJ Simmons is on here. Dude, if you guys are in commercial cleaning, you got an amazing commercial cleaning network, an amazing live event in Vegas. Been there a couple times. Great event. So for my commercial cleaning peeps, follow AJ Simmons. Great guy. AJ, you can drop your info in the chat so other people can follow you. Um, but I think that's what makes us a snowflake. It's not our service, it's not our product, it's our network and it's our connections. It's like, hey, how can I help you?
yep,
A great example is like, I love Teresa McConnell. She's my competitor for recruiting. Teresa, has that ever influenced our relationship? I will give to you freely and unconditionally, because that's not what it's about.
yeah,
It's about my network of people that know, like, and trust me. I could care less who you use. I could care less who you use to clean your house if you're in Fort Myers. Um, and it's about our network, and it's not networking. It's not BNI networking.
I used to hate that term, honestly.
No,
Business networking.
but business networking.
But yeah,
So, if you guys have questions or comments, like Teresa said, I love you too. Like, and it's not about that. It's about our connections, because that's what creates us. That's what makes us a snowflake. That's what makes us special.
yeah,
Because if Teresa's like, hey, I need help with something, oh, no problem. Like, I learned that. And she needed help with the understanding, like, Google AdWords stuff. I'm like, well, I learned that like 2 years ago. Let me share with with you. Let me share with you what I've learned.
yeah,
And that goes for anybody. Whether you're a customer, not, you follow us, you don't, like, hey, the other thing that I've learned over the years is to give truly and freely,
mm-hmm,
like truly and freely to give. I'm tired of gating my content and my resources and things to help people. If I had more time, I would ungate all of it because I put a lot of it behind a gate, right? Which is a give me your email or intake form. I haven't had the time to ungate it. And so this is how we are trying to start to ungate those things so that we're not behind a wall or we're not unreachable or like, and we're sharing what we're learning.
Yeah. And that's why, again, this is why this came about, is because at least for me, I'm tired of hiding things or living, keeping things to myself. I want to be, because honestly, it's a freeing feeling being fully transparent. And so I think this is where this is coming from is, I would rather want to live my life fully transparent and just honestly not give a crap, and just being able to at least help and know that like it's something is going beyond me, really being what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. And so I think it's a great topic. Repeat the topic that we're talking about. It's the geo arbitrage, it's the lifestyle
It's
arbitrage, and it's the time value,
it's opportunity cost.
opportunity cost. What are you doing right now that's costing you opportunities? How fast are you going on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being here and 10 being here.
Yeah.
Chris asked me that this morning, and I sadly said, I think like a 3. I have some subconscious issues that I'm going through. And I think I'm going at a 3 because I used to be going at like a 9 or a 10. Like I was a maniac. 9 or 10 might be dangerous.
Yeah.
But 9 or 10 create exponential growth as well, and innovation and new product. But I'm working through some issues that are just completely my fault. But I'm going at like a 3, and it makes me sad and discouraged about myself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what we're resetting. We're resetting to disrupt is.
And so we're resetting to direct. So Libby's asking her herself, and Chris is asking me, why am I going at a 3? Because my brain is going at a 10. I have the ability to go at a 10. Why am I going at a 3? And there's some things, and here's the other thing, Jeremy, back to his saying, I'd rather have more profit, less profit, more time. I want to run my company the way I want to run it.
Yeah.
I made the mistakes of like hiring experts and like, let's do this and let's do that. And they're great. I learned a lot. I don't want to discredit them. They were expensive experiences. I'm going to say that again, expensive experiences. And you will always learn from them. But the one thing I learned is sometimes I just need to do things my way.
Yeah. And it just dawned on me. And it's, if your mind is running at a 10, but your actions are running at a 3.
Yeah. So AJ just said,
yeah.
AJ, like he's a coach. He's like, man, he's awesome. High energy. He said a 5, but he goes, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm running out of 3.
Yeah.
He said.
Yeah. No, but let me take this back. Is that if your mind is running at a 10, but your actions are running at a 3, it's the same as if you were driving a car in first gear with the RPMs cranked up to 10,000. So you're going to blow out the engine. You're going to kill yourself by just exhausting yourself through anxiety and stress and lack of output.
It also chips away at that confidence, and it erodes at that confidence.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting here going at a 10, and I have all these ideas, and I have a Trello board with all my ideas, and then I'm like, crap, I can't do any of them because I need help. I used to have a tech person on as my personal assistant, and this guy took him away from me. It's okay. I gave him. It was in line with his career, with Miguel's career. But Miguel was my tech guy, so I had a personal assistant and a tech assistant. Dude, that's when you saw Libby like flying. Like I was just like growth. I built Woot Recruit from 0 to $1 million in 2 years, like crazy growth. And now I'm like, well, my team has I'm like, well, I don't have my tech assistant no more. I have my personal assistant, but she doesn't have that tech background. And I'm like, I'm slow, I'm stagnant, I need to go fast. And Chris is the one who challenged me.
Yeah.
Saying, on a scale of 1 to 10 this morning at breakfast, how fast do you think you're going? And I thought, I'm going at a 3. Like, that kind of sucks. And I was feeling discouraged coming out of Chicago because I have all these ideas and I want to do them. And then I kind of like,
again, your mind
held myself back.
Yeah, your mind is running at a 10, but your actions are running at a 3.
And then he asked me, and he's like, why? And I'm like, that's a good question. Why? I said I had more confidence in going fast because I don't want to be a fraud. I don't want to say I'm going to do things and we don't do them. So I need to make sure I have executors doing them. And so I've kind of pulled back because I don't feel subconsciously that I have the support. But I probably do if I asked.
Yeah. If Michael Jordan probably went through the exact same thing and was probably at one time, maybe for even like a fraction of a second, maybe running at a three. But all he did was he seeked out and he asked. The people that were already there, they were just probably positioned differently, but
Yeah.
he reached out, he seeked out and asked, and suddenly it started to pull together this monster team. And then the rest is history.
Yeah. And so a great example, I was just on the Elite Entrepreneurs podcast. And they were asking me about stuff, and one of my answers was, I want to give my 16-year-old as an example. So this is for all my business owners out there. And I've paid for this. So what I'm struggling with now is my own self-sabotage at the moment. I need to remove those barriers. My 16-year-old wants to go to he wants to go to college on a basketball scholarship. I can pay for him to go to college. He's Native American. He can get scholarships. He can
Yeah.
get it right. But he wants to go to college on a basketball scholarship because he wants to play college basketball. We are a basketball family, if you don't know that about us. But anyways, he has a nutritionist, a mental coach, a speed coach, and an agility coach, and his high school basketball coach.
He's
So this kid has 5 coaches. He is 16 years old. And yes, Jeremy, I pay for all of them. These are, if you know IMG, so his nutritionist, his mental coach, and his agility coach are IMG coaches. And then he has a speed coach who was an Olympic athlete who competed in the Olympics. And then he has a basketball coach. And we pay for all of them, and he does them. But as business owners, this is my question. Like, we might have one coach, like, that's in this specific area, but do we have a coach that's helping us on our mindset, nutrition? And I don't mean like necessarily a trainer where you just go work out. I mean someone that's going to push you and drive you and hold you accountable. And I think sometimes where we miss the mark with that, because like I have cleaning coach, I'm in CBF. I have a SAS coach, I'm in Dan Martell's SAS group. I'm in another coaching group that teaches us how to be better like teachers and coaches, even though I'm not a coach, because I want to perfect my delivery of coaching and not
Yeah.
coaching, I'm sorry, of teaching online. And then I'm in a YouTube because I want to be a great YouTube. I want a great like, YouTube channel. And then I'm in an AI course where I have an AI coach because I want to learn and I want to position our entire company to run on AI, not externally, I mean internally. So
Yeah.
we can we can pay our people more money and we can make more money without hiring more people. Therefore, we can pay a higher wage.
Yeah.
And so I have like those 5 coaches right now. I don't have a nutritionist because I've done that pretty well on my own. But I'm like, I think a lot of us miss that mark with we're running at a 3. But what do we need to run at like a 7? A 7 or 8 would make me happy.
Honestly, that would be
I don't want to hit
beautiful.
a 10. I don't want to hit a 10. I think 10 is disruptive.
Yeah.
10 is like that person that you hate and they come in and they're like a freaking tornado.
Yeah.
But what do I need? What do you need to hit to hit a 7? Do you need another coach? Do you need more accountability? Do you need like barriers broken down? Is it mindset? Is it task oriented?
So that's a great question. And what I resolved to from what you said is that what you talked about just then with Austin, number one is he has more coaches than most businesses could even ever think about.
You don't even want to know how much money I spend on his coaching a month. Like, and I keep doubting. I'm like, seriously? But the other day, we picked him up from the airport because we flew him somewhere. He was meeting us. I don't know, because he lags behind us because he wants to play basketball. So basketball is his life. So that's why you don't see Austin a lot in our life. And that's a choice he made, and we respect his choice. The other day, we picked him up from the airport and we took him to eat, and he ordered broccoli. And I looked at Chris and I'm like, who is this kid? Like, he just ordered broccoli on his own free will.
Yeah.
Over French fries. And I was like, say, well, Austin, how's it going? Like, that's interesting. And I didn't want to like draw attention to it. And I'm just like, I treat Austin. So AJ, he's on here. He's a coach. What I've learned is I treat my children like coaching clients, like great questions create great conversation. So I try not to like directly parent them anymore unless they piss me off. It's just a bunch of questions. So I'm like, oh, Austin, that's interesting. I noticed you ordered broccoli. Well, what brought that on? He's like, oh, my nutritionist said that I need a balanced diet and blah, blah, blah. And then I didn't say a word. I got in the car and I told Chris, I'm like, 16 years of me telling him he needs to eat friggin' vegetables.
And
16
he
years
and he did it in.
He had a nutritionist for 1 month, and all of a sudden he's like ordering broccoli instead of French fries.
No, day one.
It's like,
It's insane. But what I took away from what you said is that you were talking about seeking out specialists, not a generalist.
yeah, specialists.
So
that's what I mean. I'm seeking out specialists. So if you're going at a 3, what do you need to go at a 7?
what are your current limitations that are preventing you from taking the 3 to going to a 7? Identify what that gap is and focus deep on that with specialists. Whatever that is, either it's a person, it's a coach, it's a mentor, if it's training or lifestyle, whatever it is. But that specialization, go deep into that and have that as another layer, as bumpers to keep you going fast. Like start building your reins on your dragon.
Yeah, so some comments. Jeremy said that he feels sometimes he can go fast, but sometimes he needs to go slow. I also think there are seasons, Jeremy, like seasons. Like the interview we talked about last Saturday with Elon Musk working 120 hours. Well, he worked 120 hours to get that SpaceX project up and functional. I'm sure he doesn't work 120 hours every day of his life.
And I'm pretty sure that he said it was hell.
It was hell. So it's seasons of your life. It's like go fast, play hard, come back, go faster. Play hard, come back, go even faster. It's called, there's a book called The Power of Full Engagement. Jonathan Potashnik recommended this book. He was the owner of Service Autopilot. Amazing guy. He's getting back into mentoring the youth when it comes to owning home service companies. But it's called The Power of Full Engagement. And they call it the corporate CEO, but I'm calling it the entrepreneur CEO. And we run on empty. We run until we're burnt out and we keep running. And that's why we become inefficient and burnt out versus go hard to breaking. Go as hard as you can to that breaking point, which might be 120 hours. And then you have to know how to stop. And we don't know how to stop.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't know how to stop either. I have things scheduled. Like tomorrow I leave for Bimini for 3 days to sit in a lawn chair and do nothing by myself with some like 4 business owners. But that's how I make myself go slow, is because it's scheduled and it's on purpose.
Yeah.
But it's called the Power of Full Engagement, and it's that interval exercise theory. Like, let's raise our heart rate on purpose, slow it, raise it, and we can push ourselves further and further each time. But they talk about in this book, we'll call it the entrepreneur CEO. The corporate CEO. They call it a corporate CEO, but we're not CEOs. We can call it the corporate entrepreneur. We don't know how to stop. We just keep trying to work through it, but you can't work through it.
Yeah. And so that's why there's always, with athletes, they talk about doing sprints, because those are, like you said, higher interval for a short period of time to condition. And I learned through actually it was David Carnivore. David
Knight.
Yeah. He talked about how there's some other people out there who are educating on doing these micro workouts through the week that actually help build muscle faster and cut back fat through doing things like high intensity sprints at a very short time, but you're high engagement and it does certain things to your body and activates certain hormones. But the thing here is that's why athletes focus on sprints. Even in software, they call like these short-term milestones or projects, they call them sprints for a reason, because you need to have high intensity, high focus, short period of time, or a short framework, or a short attention, and then you kind of reset and review, and then you go ahead for the next sprint.
So in software, they work in sprints. It's called Agile, right? Sprints are a part of that, and it's a great framework for like creating momentum in a company. And anyways, I'm getting off track. Teresa said, oh wait, Jeremy said, I think it goes back to community, right? Goes back to the need for community. So yes, I love that. I think, Jeremy, the need for community is huge. Like, you find a community and you just fit in it. It's
Yeah.
like it feels like home. It's warm and fuzzy. Teresa said she loves the transparency. It's always refreshing. It helps her stop beating up herself.
we
Teresa,
can
stop.
do that for you.
Yeah, Teresa, stop. And then I do love Teresa said that she needs to stop micromanaging and expecting perfection. Teresa, that was me. That was me until a business owner told me that I am my own bottleneck. No one is ever going to do it as good as me, and I am stunting my own growth. That was me all day long. Even in my own house, I was like, what was it like living in the house with me?
It was hell.
I mean, I needed perfection. And finally, I had to figure out, like, okay, is it perfection or is it minimalistic, right? Oh, apparently that's a signal.
Do the opposite.
Wait.
Nope. No, I think there you go.
Look at that. That was me. And I was demanding like perfection and in my own home. And it made everyone so unhappy. It made my marriage like not great. My kids hated me, like you name it. I'm not proud of that time in my life. Micromanage my employees until, a mentor told me, you're the problem.
Yeah.
No one's ever going to do it that good. So you just have to figure out what good enough is.
Yep.
Do you like money over perfection? Do you like growth? Like, what do you want? Like, what's the outcome you're looking for? Perfection is like the here and now, but what's the outcome you want? So, and then this is the most, Teresa, this comment right here makes my day, right? Makes my day. Sitting here at the table drinking coffee is the most I've been still all week. I've declined 10 calls. So thank you, Teresa, for sitting still with us for a minute. I know how that feels. And we're just trying to share what I pay. We pay a lot of money to learn, like a lot of money to learn. I probably spend about $100,000 a year in learning.
Yeah.
In groups, in learning, in masterminds, and coaches, and in mentors. And there's not a drop of regret. And that's a lot of money. But I feel like that's what's needed of me to be the next version of me, the next version of the leader that's needed to grow each company, because I have several. Because if I don't, we will go backwards. Because I'll be honest with everybody. At times, I have no clue what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, no clue. No. And that's okay, because I also have people by my side that can help me. Like, I've never owned a software, so I got a software mentor. I never bought my partner out of a software, so I have a mentor. Like, I'm confident in what I do now, because even if I don't know the answer, and I don't need to know everything, I don't have the capacity. I just need to know I have the resource.
Yeah.
That will help me get to the answer.
Yeah. And I want to circle back to what you said, and a few different things is one is, the reason why, we put together the higher profit tribe. Again, not business related, not profit in money, but profit in life. If you haven't yet joined it, I say I would love to have you in there. To be honest, that's where I put a lot of my personal reflections. I have notes till forever, just because of things that I've written by myself with my headphones on the road. I'm literally have my Apple notepad out, writing while listening to music, walking down a street of a random town alone, in isolation. But I mean, in terms of psychology and all that stuff, like, this is where I want to try to bring back and give back as much as I can. And that's kind of my, my dumping grounds for my own self-reflections. But one thing I put in there inside the Higher Profit Tribe was, the death of a new you. And it was my reflections of my past. And it was about 5 years ago, probably a month ago, that I saw some things pop up. And you know how on Facebook you have like, oh, here's some memories from before. Sometimes those memories hit hard, because that picture was me putting my feet up at front of house, I think it was a Hollywood Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a amphitheater in California, Hollywood. But it was kind of like the loadout, so it was really really great feelings. But what I took away from it was the short story of that was the time in my life where everything should have been theoretically a dream come true with being able to be I'm talking about like private parties, getting goodie bags full of things that you probably shouldn't know about.
What would you like, the red or the blue pill?
We've flying private jets, to get to the next town for a gig, in Peru. Um, you know, I've again stories for days, but um, that was a time where to be quite honest with you, and I don't want to get like censored here on Facebook, but um,
Don't get me banned.
but that was a time in my life where incredible experiences, but I was to the point to where I wasn't sure if what I was doing currently was worth living for, because there was such an extreme opportunity cost in terms of being home with the family and kids, and being there for somebody else outside of myself. It was such a heavy opportunity cost. But I say this because I look back at like Teresa and Erica. I see you on here, Erica Turner, and dozens of others here. If I scroll down,
Yeah,
I'll see
Christian,
more.
Regine, AJ,
But
Jeremy,
what I want to say is that in me sharing my experiences,
my mom.
yeah, I wanted to try to give back. I wanted to try to say something that would help move people forward outside of myself. And I want to say that I'm one of those, secret, what do you call them? Secret stalkers, the silent
Ghost follower.
ghost followers on Facebook. I'm watching you, Teresa. I'm watching you, Erica. I see your posts.
He's my ghost follower too.
Yeah, and so I see your posts, and I want to say this, and I want to maybe it'll help provide a little bit of accountability. But I see your posts, and I see what you're doing, and I know that you've reached out separately and said, even as subtle as it might be, that you're happy with what we've been doing recently with just helping out and sharing, especially here with the date mornings. It's helping you to kind of put something towards your life, and helping you move better. So that's all I want,
Yeah.
is I want to be able to help people out.
Yeah, and I love that. I come from, Chris posted this week about, the death of a new you. I'm not sure if you guys know this about like me, and like yesterday was 8 years ago. My ex, we'll call him husband, but we weren't married, had passed away. And, that's Billy and Austin's dad. And we were talking about like the things that are holding you back. And I think there's so much in business that holds us back that we don't talk about. We're never going to be a great leader, a great mentor, a great community leader, a great anything until we get through these things. I will say that one of the biggest breakthroughs I ever had was it came in a boardroom meeting, doing a Reiki breathing exercise with Dan Martell, in Boston in last June. Me realizing that I was not okay with that part of my life. I never talked about it. I was ashamed of it. And until then, doing that exercise, and when we were all done, we were like crying. Everyone was crying in the room. But until then, I never chose to talk about it because I was ashamed of it. Because I thought, oh, how could how could Libby let that happen to her? And so the death of a new you is a good topic because I'm not gonna lie, like I struggle a lot every day with my past, like every day. And so a lot of you guys think that like, oh, we look like we have it together. We have it together for the most part, but it's because we spend a tremendous amount of money, time, and effort to do the work. So it's the work, whether it's the geo arbitrage, the lifestyle arbitrage, the
Opportunity costs.
opportunity cost, it's all the work. And then, with Chris mentioning the higher profit tribe, it's the work that we're putting in. Because yesterday was 8 years ago, and like I find myself still struggling with that. And I've remarried. I have another child, but I still have Billy and Austin, and I spent 13 years of my life with him. and I'm still close to his mother. And he died, like he passed away. That's why this part is so hard. But it is still something that I am not over. Like as
Yeah.
much as we want to say we're over it, we're okay with it. I'm not, and I know that. Like I think boardroom and the things and the crazy things and the crazy like sound bowl exercises and Reiki breathing and working on mindset and breath work and courage that I realized just in being in boardroom, which is a SaaS like group, that I'm not over that. And that's one of those things that is holding me back. Um, and it's not that I'm mad. It's not that I'm upset. It's just that it's a part of my life I don't know how to deal with. And I think that that's okay. Like just me acknowledging saying, I don't know how to deal with it. And it's really confusing because it's something like, you struggling with having to leave that career and like that part. For me, it's struggling with dealing with someone that was um, an addict, right? A pure addict, and at that, an abusive addict. And I chose just this year to start talking about it.
Yeah.
And I think those are one of the things, when we're saying we're going at a 3 or a 5, it's not all task based, right? It's not all like I need better playbooks. It's not all I need better processes or more people. It's up here that it's holding you back. Because what happens if you go out of 7? Can you handle the success, the stress? Do you have the courage? Can you handle the anxiety?
And I'm be honest, if you're not there yet in terms of mental strength or mental acuity, are you going to self-destruct by other means of alcohol, drugs, um, promiscuity, whatever it is? Are you there mentally to keep yourself at a 7 or a 10, running yourself into the ground?
Yeah, and maybe that's why I'm going at a 3 because I grew fast and sometimes it's scary. With my ex, we were very successful when we were young, and he couldn't handle the anxiety, and that's why he turned to alcohol, and he was an alcoholic for years. Um, and I hated that he got labeled with that, and he truly, and this is why yesterday being 8 years was like a weird day. He truly was sick, truly was sick, and I didn't see it at all. But at the same time, we were extremely successful, and he couldn't handle the stress and the anxiety and used alcohol. And maybe that's my fear. Like there's something holding me back. And right now I'm diving into working with like a spiritual coach, working on my mindset more. Um, because is that my fear that that's how I seen it done? Like we had a lot of money, like Ferraris in the driveway, house on the ocean in Tampa. I'm talking bar in Ybor City. If you're familiar with Florida, you know what that is. Um, and so there's a part of me that's not, I'm not done with that. And it still holds me back, whether it's my confidence, my self sabotaging, my success. And I acknowledge it. And I'm thankful for now seeing that I still have to work through those things. And it's hard too, though, because you want to talk about it. You want to talk about your past, but you also respect your kids because that's their dad. Because it was not a great past. I'm going to tell you that right now. It was at times absolutely horrible. Like horrible, horrible, that I don't want to talk about it because you want to still, you know, those are Billy and Austin. That's Billy and Austin's dad, and then his mom, still alive, and I don't want to disrespect his mother.
Hmm.
And then the weird part is, I still, loved him until the day he died. Not in love with him. There's a difference. You can love someone but not be in love with them, and so it's all kinds of confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm super grateful that Chris understands that because his parents come from divorce as well. But these are the self-sabotaging things that hold us back. It's not better playbooks, guys. It's not more processes. And I'm a playbook, love them, queen. You figure these out, you can be the leader of leaders. Like that leader that creates other leaders. You can then do the work that you need to do to build yourself. But
Yeah.
first, you have to do this work.
Yep. And that's the hardest one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap up on this very sad note now. But But this is what we do it for. We're not doing it for anything. We're not selling anything. We want to do it to share our journey, and that, you know, I don't like calling myself a coach, and I don't want to call myself a coach. That's why you don't see me ever call myself a coach.
Hmm.
Because I think that the word coach has become like a dirty word.
Yeah.
Why? There's so many young people. They're 20 years old. They're like, I'm a business coach. And I'm not until I did the work,
Yeah.
the mindset work, the breath work, the spiritual work, did I realize that, man, I've been through a lot. I've been through hell and back, literally. And I can help people through sharing my journey of that does not define me, and helping you see your true potential. So I don't think that is a coach at all, and that's why I don't call myself a coach. But it's more of a teacher leading through lessons in life.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So I hope you guys have a great day. I've kept you long enough. We've been on for an hour. If you have questions, comments, or if you're just in need, just feel free to PM either of us.
Yeah.
Private message us. You can put your questions in the comments. But ultimately, this is what we love to do, is we love just sharing through our journey, through our mistakes, our lessons, and at the end of the day, our wins.
Yeah. And I would love to also encourage, if anybody does want an outlet that, I mean, maybe your community right now, maybe I want to just say social media specifically, is that you don't have anybody on social media that will really connect with who you are right now, just in kind of getting it, is use that Higher Profits Tribe community as a way to maybe like test the watering grounds, and see if, you know, give or share experiences for you personally on things that you're going through, and then, you know, start to create that dialogue, and see if there's anybody else who can connect on that level, because that's what that is for. And I want to continue growing it and getting more people sharing and contributing in there, so that, again, it's all about life profit, it's about growth, it's about mindset, and so I'm going to keep kind of leaning in there and trying to share what we can here on the date mornings.
Awesome. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. We will see you next Saturday.
Bye, guys.
Bye.